last couple months really well. And I tell you, I'm really blessed because I have the opportunity to talk to some of the most remarkable people on the planet, and they're genius at what they do. So I just wanted to just throw out a couple things about this individual. 3 times New York Times bestseller author. He built the largest financial education company in our industry, in surplus of $250 million a year in sales. He also is the largest shareholder of a company called, many of you probably know, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad brand, the education division. He's just done some remarkable things. What I find probably most interesting, he's had the private jets. He's, built the big mega company. He's had 2,000 employees. But he's taken the last 4 years, 20,000 hours on this inner voice way of life. And I thought, as a great way of starting our conference and kicking off and getting us in the right space, he's been to the promised land. He's lost it. He's come back. He's done it all. And I think I asked him to share some important life lessons that he's been on this journey of the last 4 years. And correct me if I'm wrong, Russ, this is the first time you're releasing this talk, right? First time ever, right here at Sang. So, and by the way, I got a call from him about 2 weeks ago or 10 days ago, and he tells me he broke his leg. And I was like, oh, I was so looking forward to your speech. He goes, no. He goes, I'm coming. I told the doctor, I'm coming. So I really want to give a very special, warm welcome, standing ovation, because he's on crutches making his way over to Mr. Russ Whitney.
No. Thank you. Oh, I feel like Janet Jackson with this thing on. It's been 4 years. I used to just tape the microphone duct tape to my tie, so different. Well, good morning, everybody. How are you today? Well, I got to tell you, when Larry told me I only have 2.5 hours to speak, actually, he told me 22 minutes. I haven't spoke to a group publicly like this in 4 years. So thank you for having me. And I do have some messages to share, some things that I've run into over the last 4 years that I think might be helpful. They've certainly been helpful for me. As Larry said, I built one of the largest education companies in our industry, nothing like a Merrill Lynch, of course, but in our industry, doing $250 million a year. Built it from a $5 million company and 12 employees in 1997 to, when I left in 2008, 2,000 employees in 7 countries and $250 million in sales. And at that time, last night, we had a discussion last night, and everybody wanted to hear biggest failure. What's the biggest failure, not the biggest success? I'd like to share with you some of the failures and the mistakes along the way, and also some of the industry, BS stories that you'll hear, not only here, but, permeated all over the place. Some of them I invented, by the way. But today I'm sworn to honesty today. So, no, I'm just kidding. But anyway, I did. You wrote 3 New York Times bestsellers. But let me just tell you about the books. Building Wealth, I wrote 1992. It's still on bookstore shelves today. Probably one of the longest running real estate books that's been written. And I don't say that to brag to you. I'm telling you, I haven't made any money on that book in 20 years either. No. I mean, it's all over, and it looks like a big deal, but most of my books haven't made money. The back end is where the money is. So a lot of you I'm hearing are in seminar business and speaking businesses, so I'm going to give you some tips on how the industry really works, because what I'm hearing at some of the tables is not at all how it works. And I hate to see you guys go running off, on a path and waste 5 or 10 years before you figure it out, or even 2 years, And I spent lots of years, figuring it out. So if I can shortcut you, I'd love to. I left the real estate and financial seminar business 4 years ago. I left in January of 2008. And here's the reason I left. Let's go through a fail. Built this company, $250 million. I owned the Rich Dad education brand. When I took Rich Dad on 4 years ago, he was 3 weeks from closing his doors. And I don't mean that's public knowledge. And what I did is I thought he had a great brand, but his brand was like taking a shower with a raincoat on. In other words, it got you all excited, but when you're done, you don't know, what do I do now? And what our company did is we built the back-end education business. In other words, I in 1996 decided to get out of the get-rich business and put advanced trainings, model our trainings after conventional education, junior college and college. And we went to 1 to 3 year continuity programs. And these worked, in our most advanced training programs, which were our most expensive, from $12,000 to $60,000. Our refund ratio was less than 0.5%, 1%. From 2000 to 2007, over 60,000 people a month went through my training programs in 7 countries: England, Ireland, Scotland, Canada, and Central America. 60,000 a month, that's huge, over 6 million people. And less than 0.5% refund ratio. And what I'm going to talk to you about today, though, is where I don't know, it was a failure. I think it was more of what I would call an act of providence. And an act of providence is, in my interpretation, something that God could have prevented but didn't for the greater good. I don't think that, my God, causes any pain or hurt. Or, I think people do that, you know what I mean? And people create crimes and misery. I think the Creator tries to make some good out of it. So, by the way, today's not a religious experience. I'm not looking to convert anybody to anything. What I'm looking to do today, as you see, do we have a... Oh, I guess I do that. It's been a while now, so bear with me. All right, I have to go backwards now. There it is, okay. They did pretty good touch-up with the airbrushing, don't you think? Feels like, damn, you look a little older in person, Russ. Anyway, this is a discussion today about experience, strength, and hope. I try to stay away from... there you go. I try to stay away from opinion. Nobody wants opinion. I don't like it when people say, here's what I think you should do. What I want to hear is, tell me if you had an experience like mine, good or bad, what someone else taught you, because you probably didn't invent anything just like I did. And I didn't invent real estate investing. I didn't invent all the creative stuff. I read everybody's book in the universe and then created my own way to attack it. And same with the talk I'm going to have with you here today about the inner voice. So what I don't want to hear is opinion. I'd like to hear experience, strength, and hope. And that's what I'm going to share with you. Did I have an experience like yours? What did someone else teach me? Or what did I learn along the way? And why is my life better? Do you think that would be a better way to learn? All right, that's what we're going to do today. So here's what happened. Around March 08th, I took my company public years prior, okay? And in March 08, well, first of all, the stock went from 4 cents to $14. I had 5.5 million shares of stock, so you do the math, 80, 90 million in free and clear stock, along with, a centime million, $100 million net worth, et cetera, et cetera. And then all of a sudden, things started to turn backwards. I entered into an SEC, a Securities and Exchange, and a Department of Justice investigation. And you're talking about the IRS on steroids. And you don't have to have done anything bad to have the SEC or DOJ investigate you when you're public, just like an audit, okay? But it was a harrowing audit, and there were some allegations of criminal issues. And I just got to tell you this, when you got 2,000 employees, all right, and you got 25 lawyers on staff, and you've hired Fortune 500 executives to run your management and put systems, processes, and resources in place. It's not like you walk into the accounting or the marketing department and say, hey, cheat a couple of people today and give me that check. You know what I mean? It doesn't work that way. So some of the allegations were absurd. So let me just cut to the short version. After 4 years, I spent $22 million in legal fees. There was no finding of any wrongdoing, no sanction, no fine, not even a slap on the wrist for Russ Whitney or his companies, nor has there ever been in his career. So I will take a little round of applause for that. Thanks. All right, so let me also say this. If you go on the internet and you Google Russ Whitney, which is a blue-collar thing to do these days, and white-collar too, for that matter, about half of that stuff's true, okay? Half of it's baloney, the other half is true. So if you want to know the true stuff, you could come ask me. But, the results speak for themselves. So anyway, here's what else happened. I was married for 29 years. My marriage started to fall into problems, not due to that, but just life. And then I started to get into a little bit of partying. Now, I never touched a drink or drink a little bit, but a drug or any of those things from 23 to 47 years old. I was focused on my family, building a business. I worked 15 hours a day, 7 days a week, out of balance. And that's what I'm going to talk a little bit about today, was balance. And all of a sudden, everything started crashing in. And I was burnt out. In a business like mine, over 10 years, where you start with 12 employees, and you go from 5 million to a quarter billion, 12 employees to 2,000, there can be some burnout for the CEO. And normally, they say the life expectancy for that CEO might be 3 to 5 years. I ran that thing for over 10 years. And, I never ran a big company, so I brought in consultants. And one of the things that I'm always good about, and I'll recommend to you, is never believe your own BS, never believe your own PR. Always look for people smarter than you, and it does the opposite. In other words, I remember people saying, wow, you see those people who work for Russ Whitney, they're brilliant. Can you imagine how smart he must be? So I fooled them. But that was the genius. I knew what I was good at, and that's marketing. In our business, seminar business, stage business, if you want to make big money, you're a marketing business, and you do your business by direct sales, okay? Marketing foremost. Now, education, if that's what you're selling or whatever you're selling, has to be good. That's a given. But the key is you got to learn marketing. That's my genius. My business is putting a butt in a seat. That's what it is. Because it doesn't matter how good the education is, no butt in a seat, you make no money. Does that make sense to everybody? All right, so here's what happened. When that all fell apart, I decided to resign from the company. I was burnt out, walk away, and there were some things that were supposed to happen that would have protected my interests better, and didn't. Today, all good though. And the stock has gone from $14 down to 14 cents. I left the company with $250 million in revenue. It's down to about 70 or 80 million right now. I left them with 60 million in cash. It's down to 3 or 4 million. So I lost a lot of money. During the real estate crisis, my biggest money has always been made in real estate as well, by the way. The seminar business, as you're going to see, has been the least profitable for me ever. But it's the one where my heart and soul have been, and I'm going to explain that to you all. Also, just to give you an idea that if you're pursuing this kind of dream, or a speaking dream, or a seminar dream, you have to have the priority right on the why. If you don't have the priority right on the why, you're going to spend a lot of time wheel spinning and then figure out that your purpose is really something else. So let's go back here. I leave the company, and I fall into this little self-pity victim mode, drinking a little too much alcohol. It was fun. I don't have any regrets, by the way. Don't know that I want to do it today, but I had a damn good time with it. And everybody around me saw a different Russ Whitney, and some of the trusted attorneys and counselors came to me and said, man, Russ, something's wrong. You need to do something. I think you got a problem. And I'll give you the short version. It was my asset protection attorney, I think it was Carl Linder, who said, Russ, if you're getting up in the morning and you're pouring a 6-ounce glass of Crown Royal instead of a 6-ounce glass of milk, that's probably a problem. I said, really? So anyway, it did seem like a problem at the time. But anyway, here's what happened to me. I finally realized that I was burnt. Now, guys, at $250 million a year, we were cash flowing $1 million a week. I was $1 million cash after all bills paid. I had a Citation 7 jet, seats 10, goes 550 miles an hour, 0.84 Mach. I had that for 10 years. I had a Citation 2, Rolls Royce, Ferrari, multi-million-dollar homes. And again, I don't say that to impress you. It just is what it is. And I don't have all those things right now, okay? Not that all my money is gone. God was good enough to leave me with plenty to go on this next mission. And that's the mission I'm on today. And here was my question, okay? My question in January of 2008 is, what's the point? I've already made the money. I got the jets. I raised my family. Relatively good shape, not horribly out of balance. What am I here for? I was at a point of non-challenged and empty. And here's what I've done over the last 4 years. I've traveled the world. I've been to over 20 countries, and I've devoted 20,000 hours of my life to that question. What is the point? Why are we here? And I've traveled to Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Israel, Haiti, Colombia, Spain. I've been to, if I didn't say Israel, I've been all through Europe, working with some of the top business, spiritual, and thought leaders worldwide. I mean, tops, names that you would know, indirectly and directly. And my big question was, who's right? Christians right, Muslims right, Hindus right, Buddhists right, Wayne Dyer right, Deepak Chopra right, who's right? Ron LeGrand right, Phil right, I don't know. Russ Whitney right? But in all seriousness, that's what I wanted to know. And I have found answers. And I went on this mission for me. I didn't go on a mission to monetize it. I never really thought of it as a business. But I knew this, that the third day I went, God gave me the blessing very, very early on to take complex information. And I didn't graduate high school. Some of you may or may not know, but I spent 3 years in prison from 17 to 20 years old. Out of prison into a place I didn't know in Albany, New York, which is where I got my start in real estate. 3 months later, I got married, and I was married for 29 years, and then built my business along the way. So it's kind of a crazy story. But I went on this mission not to monetize this. I went on this mission to find these answers for myself. Now, when I say I've got the blessing to take complex information, boil it down into a Reader's Digest summary, and spit it back out where people can understand it. That's what I did in real estate. Now, let me just go here to the next slide. Now, listen, I haven't timed this. This is a talk from the heart. So if my timing's off, you'll have to just deal with that. All right, let's go here. So as I start on this mission around the world with this question, I spent, if I didn't say so, 20,000 hours on this. I went on a mission to find these answers for myself. And I'm going to give you some of those answers, but this boiled down into a product today called Inner Voice. And I remember the third day from the first place I went to. This was the first spiritual, mental retreat I went to and physical retreat. And there was a lot of spirituality going on. I didn't know much about spirituality. You know, I was raised up in a religious kind of background, and I could quote you Bible verses till I'm blue in the face. But I never felt there was this God, you know. I believed in it, but here's what I do. I'd go have a big success, real estate or otherwise. You know, we get the profit, and I'd say, hey, God, you know, I don't know where you help, but if you help some, you know, come on, let's go on to the next one. We'll do it again. And that's about where it was. So here's what I learned. From the third day that I went out there, this is the message I got. The message I gave was that I told people, hey, here's Russ Whitney. Come to my magical seminar. I'll teach you how to become financially independent, and everything will be okay. Because that's all I knew back at that era. But the message I got was that was an out-of-balance message, and I felt that there was this power telling me that I needed to learn this new type of balance in life and pass that balance on. And so that's kind of the mission that I went on. Now, let's just go here. This book, the book has now ended up in a book, and I'm going to tell you how Sang was kind of, and Larry Benet was kind of responsible for my book being published with one of the largest independent and spiritual publishers in the world. Inner Voice will be coming out in the following year. Here's what most people think, okay? Well, first of all, the book talks in two voices, the warrior phase and the statesperson phase, if you see that. The warrior phase is from 20 to 40 years old. And in hindsight, as I go backwards, I could see in that warrior phase, it was all about being taught by humans. Selfishness, self-centeredness, arrogance, finger-pointing, judging, blaming, criticizing, self-pity, victim. We work on human training. And then something happens at 40 years old. Now, give or take, it can happen 10 years earlier for some or later. But there comes a point. Some get it. Some just get it because they do. Others have to go through a life crushing. Either life crushes them, someone crushes them, or they crush themselves. And then all of a sudden, they have to look up, and they start to experience mortality. Now, we have both in this room. We have warriors in this room, and we have statespeople in this room. So I'm going to give this message in both of those voices. But in the statespeople person, the difference is it's not about selfishness, self-centeredness, and arrogance, and finger-pointing, judging, and blaming, and criticizing, and self-pity, and victim, and a host of other character defects. We start to learn the power of humility, the power of tolerance, the power of patience, the power of forgiveness, the power of letting go of resentments. And those aren't just words. For Russ Whitney, those things were big, big things to learn and harder things to do. You know, I can tell you to have humility, but you know what? Humility for most of us is something we define, not something we do. How do you do humility? I think that's an important action step along with the other action steps. Now, let's just go here. People think that Russ Whitney made all of his money. Now, I'm going to go to passion and purpose because as we talk in warrior and statesperson, the whole point of my lesson was to find out over this 4 years, what am I here for? What's the point? And I'm going to pass the exercise on so you can put the use in your own life. What are you here for? What is your point? And in warrior phase, we never stop to look at that. You know why? In a warrior phase, we're in information gathering. Many of you are doing that right now. You're chasing down a career, trying to find the right wife, trying to find the right husband, having a family, buying a car, getting a house, gathering things in the warrior phase. And we never take a step back to say, what's the point? And I'm going to show you an example of that where I use a hamster wheel to show you that. But let's just go back to Russ Whitney. People think I got wealthy because I had a passion for real estate. I never had a passion for real estate. My passion was about being a millionaire. At age 20, when I came out of prison, I was a high school dropout. I was making $6.50 an hour, and I got a voice. I call it today, going backwards, an unconscious contact. And this voice told me I could do something better with my life. Now, to give you an example that you can look at after this, write this down. Steve Jobs, founder of Apple Computers, Steve Jobs, Stanford University commencement speech. It's on YouTube, and I want you to go take a look at that and watch his speech about connecting the dots backwards. Because your passion and your purpose is generally going to be found based on your childhood wounds, which is I'm going to show you in just a moment. I didn't have a passion for real estate. I read a book at 20 that said I could be a millionaire. That's all I wanted when I read that book, was to be a millionaire. And here's why. It wasn't about the money. It wasn't about the Rolex or the jets. I wanted to be a millionaire because I grew up in an abused household. My parents were alcoholics. Don't take pity here, it's all part of the plan. But I made to eat my own puke, tied by a dog leash by my neck for days at a time, and other horrible things. And I was always told that I was never can't walk the dog good enough, can't get good enough grades. Now, everybody in this room has gone through some phase of that. Even if your parents are Harvard, business grads. You know what? If they're making you feel less than or not good enough, which they never do by purpose, but it happens. Lots of us grow up with what's called the never good enough syndrome. We don't feel good enough. Therefore, we have to work harder, stay later, do it more, go to more seminars. And I'm telling you, there's another way that I found in the last four years. And I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm going to give you suggestions, okay? That's what the Inner Voice program is about. It's about principles and strategies and suggestions. Here's a suggestion to handle things that have been around for years, but a different way. And you take the suggestion, if you like it, you try it on and you get evidence, you keep doing that one. If you get a suggestion, you don't like it or you're not ready for it, you put that one to the side. So there's no one size fits all. I'm never going to tell you what to do, but I'll give you a series of suggestions and some deep things to think about. So let's go back here. Why then? I didn't have a passion for real estate. I had a passion to become a millionaire because I had a need inside to show all those people who told me in my childhood that I was nobody or nothing, that I was somebody. Now, I didn't know that then. I had to do like the Steve Jobs speech and connect the dots backwards to find the passion and purpose today. So, oops. Okay, here he goes. I can always go for the sympathy close, so. I got a backup, baby. But here's the deal. I found his book, said I could be a millionaire. So here's why. I wanted to be a millionaire to show those people who said I was nothing. Now, I buy the first rundown, beat-up property in the ghetto. I paint it, I clean it. I'm 20 years old. And, I'm proud of it. People look at it, see this 20-year-old kid had bought, a property, and it started to build my self-confidence, my self-esteem. Does that make sense to you? So in other words, it was bigger than the money. Now let me give you the warrior business law. It's called the law of cause and result. Write this one down, the law of cause and result. And here's what the law of cause and result says. It says money in business is a result, never a cause. Rolex, the jets, the sports, they're all a result, never a cause. So if you get into business, now listen closely to somebody, speaker, I don't care what it is, if you get into business just for the money, for the glamour, the glory, you're probably going to fail. You're probably not going to do well. But it may be an experience you need. But if you get into the business because something you love to do, something you're really passionate about, you like, and you're willing to educate yourself, the money then comes automatically. That's the law of cause and result. Now, in my exercise last night, Larry, let me give this to you all too. There was an exercise in that meeting that they asked for. Biggest kind of lesson in business. Let me give you this lesson because I see it over 25 or 30 years, and I see it with my peers in business. Every business that I've started, and I've incubated 10 or 12 of them that have been 10 million and above, on up to $250 million. And every single one of those, as I look back in hindsight, connect the dots, took at least 4 years before it blew up. Blew up, got big and successful. All right? Let me also say that if I knew, after that 4 years when they blew up and they did good, if I knew how much work and bullcrap it was going to be to do that business together, I'd have never done it. That make sense to you? So sometimes we just got to go ready, fire, aim. You just jump in. Now you're so knee deep, you got to see it through. That's where most people find their success. Does that make sense to you? All right, now let's just go on a step further to passion and purpose. So, 2 years after I buy this book, I become financially independent. That doesn't mean rich. At 23, I had $1,500 a month coming in net, which was more than my job, so I quit the job. 4 years later, 27, I hit a net worth of $1 million. I decided to write a book. All right, now, I never wrote the book. Now, keep in mind, I want you to get back to cause, result, and purpose. I never wrote the book because I thought I was an author or anyone would even read the book. I was a high school dropout. I didn't know anything about writing books. I wanted to write the book because I had 2 children then, 5 and 3. And I still felt less than at that point in my life. And if something happened to me, I wanted my kids to be able to pull this book off a shelf and see that their dad wrote a book. Does that make sense to you? And so that was the motivation. Well, guess, send it off to 50 publishers. Turn down. Finally, it was picked up by a company called the National Institute of Financial Planning, Mark Harrelson's company, and they published the book. But they made the caveat to me that we'll publish it, but you have to come out and speak at our seminars to promote it. Well, I never spoke at a seminar. I didn't even know, they didn't have seminars back then. This is like one of the first. And there's some pioneers here from the Phils to the Rons and Robert Sheemans who all know. There were no real seminars back then. I went out, I speak on the stage, I just tell them what I did like I'm doing now. And people had this adoration, like I was a guru now. All I did was fix up some rundown ghetto properties, you know. In my heart of hearts, I didn't think I did that big a deal. But, you know, then the adoration built my self-confidence, self-esteem, but more than that, I realize now in hindsight, why did I love that business, even though it wasn't my biggest moneymaker, even though I've had more regulatory challenges. None of them have ever won, though, against Russ Whitney. Not one regulatory challenge has won. And that's because I've run moral and ethical businesses. But here's why I realized today. I stayed in that business for the same reason I'm on this stage, and I didn't know this 4 years ago, but I know it today. I have a need to save people. I have a need to help and save people and reach out and pass my blessing on because there was nobody ever there to save me. And so I can't impress upon you how deep that makes a passion and a purpose and a life purpose. And so as you look at this slide here, you see Discovery Chart, two-way conscious contact. Over this last 4 years and 20,000 hours, what I've developed is a principle and strategy program on what I've learned. And this Discovery Chart shows us how to go back in and identify those things. So there's action plan to it, work to it. The two-way conscious contact. One is an unconscious contact. If you go back into your warrior years and just take a look at every time you said, aha, the stars are aligned, lucky moment, you wouldn't believe who I met. That's all an unconscious contact with a creator of your understanding, the creator of the universe, directing you. And when you watch the Steve Jobs video, he articulates that very well in events of his life, from being adopted to dropping out of college, that led up to him being this innovator at Apple Computer. If you take these lessons and apply them, and that's not just, and I don't mean this in a bad way, bumble through life thinking things just happen. This is a plan to show you how to make that happen based on your experiences in life, and that's where we find our passion and purpose. So let me give you the big picture. Here's the, Here's the fluffy version. The fluffy version is, okay, here's the big picture on what I found out about life. What's life about? And why? Here's what I find life is about. Larry, I got an hour left. No, I'm good. All right, here's what I find life is about. Life is about leaving the world a little better place in whatever big or small way you can. I know that's fluffy, but every one of us in some way has a way to do that. And the other is to help some other people along the way. In our warrior years, we talk about that. We don't really do that, you know, because we think it's the right thing to say. As we start to get to statesperson and mortality, we start to realize that that's the whole point. All right, one more second, Larry. Let me go here. Now, here's what I found. What I found is that I was on this hamster wheel, and I think most people are. Go to work, pay the bills, start a business, start another business, get a car, get a bigger car. Every once in a while, we have a good vacation or family day. We say life is good, and then back on the hamster wheel. 75 years later, we die. If that's the whole point, I would think it would have to be a sadistic creator that created this life. So there's got to be a bigger point to that. Now, I'm going to rush through come on, you want to come up and sit with me? All right, I'm going to finish this last thought, and this is the close. Well, come on. Okay. Come on, sit right there next to me.
Okay.
Come on, man. Give me a little love first.
Give me a little look.
All right, listen, you guys got an agenda. Have I taken too much time? I can stop right now. Do you want me to finish? Or?
Finish the last point.
You sure?
Absolutely.
I'm asking you.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
All right, okay. Here's what I'd like to leave you. I'd like to leave you with some meat, you know, not just some motivation. What did I find out that life is about differently? My first part of my life, everything was about bigger car, more jet, more business. Here's what I found life is about. Life, the game of life is like basketball. In basketball, the game is basketball. The time clock is an hour. Scoreboard tells us whether we win or lose. Everybody with me on that? No anxiety, frustration, fear, or doubt, game is over. What about life? If you ever step back and say, what's the game of life about? Here's what I have found for me. The game of life is not basketball. The game of life is a search for the truth, a daily search for the truth between you, me, and the God of your and my understanding. A daily search. The time clock today, as I worked with every cross-section of religion, all agree at the highest levels that God did not build human beings with energy for tomorrow, next week, or next year. We can have plans and goals. When we live in tomorrow, next week, next year, here's what we find. What we find in tomorrow, next week, and next year, now this is the 11th, you are here, anger, anxiety, frustration, fear, and doubt. Because we play the what-if game. We play the what about tomorrow, what about a business, am I going to be a success, am I going to get money out of saying? Anger, anxiety, frustration, fear, doubt. Now, if we don't have enough energy for tomorrow, next week, or next year, we certainly don't have it for yesterday. Usually in yesterday, we go for guilt, shame, and resentment. Now, you can say, well, I got a fond memory back there, but the truth is, when we go to yesterday, we go for, I coulda, I shoulda, why didn't I? Everybody follow that? So the key is, the time clock for life is today, keeping it in the moment. And I'm going to impress upon you all here at this Sang event, if you keep it in the moment, you're going to find some very good things. And I'm going to show you some good things I found. Now, what's the scoreboard? So we got the game of life, search for the truth, time, clock, and hour. How do we know whether we're winning or losing at the game of life? Here it is for me. What is my ratio at the end of today, being happy, joyous, and spiritually free with the absence of anger, anxiety, frustration, fear, doubt? Now, do you recognize the guy at the top? SpongeBob, always happy. Who's the guy at the bottom? Mr. Crab. He's the money monger down there. You know, if you play the law of cause and result, you'll never have a problem with those ratios. Now, Sang events, you got two things you can do here. Networking, book deals, learn new, that's all the business warrior stuff. If we start to focus on some things like gratitude, just shift the thinking, gratitude, humility, tolerance, patience, generosity, here's what I think you're going to find. What I found last year was this. These are some words of wisdom. I'm going to close on these, so I'm getting nervous, I know. I'm going to close on these. But I want to tell you, up to 4 months ago, let me go to 4 months ago, I've been working on Inner Voice for 4 years. 4 months ago, had no idea how I was going to monetize it. But I said to God, this is a song that I have to sing. And if this is what you want me to do, I will see it through. And I'll have faith that you're going to bring me another business or something else. Because that's what I do. That's my gift. And I called Larry. Larry made one contact, put me in touch with the CEO of one of the largest spiritual publishers in the world. 4 days later, I had the best book contract I've ever had. 6-figure advance, huge royalties on, good, not huge, but good. Well, 15%, 25% digital, 75% worldwide rights. That's a huge book deal for me. Also put me in touch with an e-learning platform that is now taking Inner Voice on as an Inner Voice coaching program worldwide. It will have accreditation via Ohio State University, so you'll get college credits for taking it. Thank you. Yeah. Don't tell them I didn't graduate high school, by the way, but no, but you'll get college credits for taking it. You will also get continuing education credits for anyone. And then there's a business motive behind it. So here's what I want to leave you with, and I thank you for being patient with me. I know you hate me. He said,
I love you.
You're never coming back to see me again. All right, here it is, the last one.
Good.
I'm going to leave you with these words of wisdom, what they mean to me. And if you work on these for this next couple of days, I think you'll find some great results. And this is by Reinhold Neubart. Grant me the serenity, which means give me the gift of peace to accept the things I can't change. Can't change yesterday, can't change who I was, can't change the mistakes I made or behaviors I had. Give me that gift of peace. We're responsible to give that gift to ourselves. Give me the courage to change the things I can. I can be tolerant, I can be more patient, I can be kinder, I can be more open-minded, and focus on other people's needs here at this event. And here's the one that always confuses me that I want to leave you with. The wisdom to know the difference. Which job is God's in your life and which job is yours? And here's what I find for me. My job is to suit up, show up, bring my common sense, my intelligence to the game, bring my blessing, and leave the results to the Creator. Stay out of the results. Every time you try to control or manipulate a result, your life becomes unmanageable and that deal will fall through. Let them happen for you. Thank you for putting
Ladies
up
and
with
gentlemen, let's give it up for Mr. Russ Whitney.
Thank you. Sorry. I think
That was awesome. Give him some love. A little louder.
You have to get my crutches. Thank you. By the way, so I'd only have to tell the story once. The pink cast is not for attention. It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And I have an 11-year-old niece whose mom died of breast cancer a month ago. And she told me to get a pink cast. I said, no, I have to speak at a conference, and I have to have a black cast, and I have to be conservative. She said, but my mom would really like it, and her mom died of cancer. And so that's why I got it. Thank you.
Was that good or was that good? Some lessons learned along the way?
Yes.
Awesome. So what I would